Good evening. My name is Janisa Elias, and I am the Deputy City Manager for the City of East Point. I would like to welcome each of you this evening to our Commons Development Community Meeting. Thank you for taking time out of your busy evenings to come and spend a little time with the City of East Point and its development partners for the Commons Development. I want to first start by recognizing our council members who are here this evening. We have Dr. Josette Bailey, Ward B. We have Council Member Stephanie Gordon, Ward D. And then holding down the rear back there, walking to the front, Council Member Myron Cook, Ward C. And then we also have some members, some of my colleagues here joining us tonight. Of course, we have our East Point television station crew, Ms. Glenetta Griffin and Mr. Michael Demick. We have Mr. Christopher Swain, our public art coordinator, Ms. Keisha McCullough, our city clerk. And am I missing anybody? And last but not least, also holding down the rear for us, we have Mr. Darren King, our city manager. Oh, Mr. Sean Dow, our electric director. And then our officer for the evening, who I forgot to get his name. What's your name? Officer Jacobs is on duty with us. Jenkins, excuse me. Officer Jenkins is on duty with us tonight as well. And Council Member Joshua Butler, Ward D at large, just walked in. So again, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and see an update for the Commons development. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. We have our development partners here with us this evening. So at this time, I am going to bring up Mr. Excel Lewis, who is President, CEO, and lead developer for the Commons Development with MindMatch Development Group of Atlanta.
Thank you, Janisa. I'm gonna extend this a little bit. I tend to walk around a lot. So first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to come out on today at 6 p.m. We realize that it's dinner time for a lot of people, so we have some pizza coming from Oz Pizza. So hopefully you like pizza and some lemonade from Squeeze King Lemonade that we can take part in just a few minutes. We want to start by just giving you an overview of the development. We understand and we realize that there's been a number of questions in regards to the development opportunity and the progress of the development. So we want to make sure that we're answering all of your questions that you have in preparation for the excitement that's about to come. So with that said, I'm going to take a moment to do an introduction of a few members of our team. I'll cushion that with saying to date, we've engaged about 30 companies. So there's been a lot of work behind the scenes that has happened. I know that was shared in a quarterly report, and not only outside of the city of East Point, but we've been able to engage a number of companies within the interior of East Point. So we're really excited about the opportunity to continue to create jobs and give businesses opportunities for this magnificent East Point Commons development. Pre-COVID, our numbers, and you probably have tracked the articles, in the RFP, we have about $111 million. With COVID numbers, there's over a 30% increase. We're about $150 million on this particular project. So we want to let you know where that money is going in terms of this development. To date, we're at about $1 million in. So you'll see all of that quality of work that not only TVS Design has done, but our engineers, civil engineers, et cetera, has done. But without any further ado, I want to take a moment to introduce you to Spencer Skinner. Spencer Skinner is the project manager for this wonderful development. We are blessed with an opportunity to have Spencer through Baker Tilly. Spencer will talk more about our partnership with Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly is about a $3 billion company, national company, national appeal, and they're just doing so many magnificent things within and throughout not only Georgia but throughout the country and internationally. And then we have a new addition that we're really excited about, and our new addition is Cushman and Wakefield. So Denise and Lynn is with us from Cushman and Wakefield. If you're not familiar with Cushman and Wakefield provides a property management arm, but it was very important for us to start to engage them on the front end. I know a lot of developers tend to utilize the property management aspect as an afterthought in terms of the development. Let's get the development built, and then afterwards we'll think about who we're going to bring on in terms of property management. We wanted to do it as a forethought. So we're really blessed to have the services of Cushman and Wakefield with us, and their growing contribution to the project. And you'll see them in and throughout the city of East Point. I called Lynn today and she said, "I'm at the Cupcakery." I almost told her I was at Oz Pizza earlier today and I had a slice of that hurricane. And then we have, I'm sure a familiar face to most of you in this room is Eric Harris. And Eric and I are tethered at the hip. I think we talk, God, once a day, twice a day, same as Spencer. We talk multiple times a day. But Eric is a humble man. He's the managing partner of CoreRep, which is a boutique commercial real estate company. And we're gonna get into this in full detail because we want to be extremely transparent throughout this entire process. But Eric provided his services even before the development agreement was signed. And that, how often does that happen, Eric? It's rare. So we knew that the city was investing in us because the city, through its economic development department, with Maceo, Rhonda Appleby, with Darren and Janisa and team, they had already started to engage businesses. And we said, you know what? We're going to meet you halfway on that. So we immediately tapped Eric, and he said, hey, I'll come on. And we started to engage, and we got LOIs, letters of intent, for the commercial space even before the development agreement was signed. And I'm going to bring this up more and more in our meeting because usually in terms of the project cycle, and show of hands for those that have engaged in development, great, wonderful, wonderful. So you know if you've engaged in development, those things don't happen. And when does it start? When the commercial real estate company comes on board, typically, from your experience. No, the property management process.
After the check.
I'm putting you on the spot.
That's probably not a good idea. But hello, everyone. My name is Lester Simpson. I'm a developer working on Audacity, which is coming to East Point. So typically, contracts are signed, checks are paid, and equity is deployed. But there has to be like a written agreement. And once that's in place, then you understand what your scope of work is, expectations, and how you can work things out if necessary. But without a written agreement, with written contract, you typically don't have work.
And we've never met before. All right. I just want to be clear. So a lot of this work was done prior to the development agreement being executed. And that's just a testament to the quality and the hard work that the council is doing, the commitment that the city has made to this development opportunity, but also the commitment that our team has made in this development opportunity. So I want to, if we can click forward, I'm just going to talk through the agenda for today. First, we have where we're at right now in terms of introductions. We'll get right into the master plan, and then we're going to talk more intimately about building designs, followed by design overviews that's coupled, schematic designs and some design development is coupled in that. And then we'll go through the residential floor plans and overview, commercial floor plans, project status update, some FAQ, and then we're going to go into a session breakout. Before I turn it over to Spencer for a moment, I want to talk about the layout of the room. So in terms of the layout of the room, in any project, especially a project of this magnitude, there's a lot of anticipation. So a lot of work is being done behind the scenes in terms of architectural design plans, engineering plans, site work, et cetera. But we wanted to provide you with some visuals. We've had some visuals before in the community sessions. As you can tell, those visuals have been updated based upon the feedback that we've received from the visioning sessions. So we wanted to just give you a snapshot of the visuals that have been worked on throughout the evolution of this process. In addition to that, we have some materials that you can touch and feel in terms of the over 300 apartments, both 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So we have a number of materials that you can wrap your minds around and really get a feel for those 1 and 2 bedrooms. And then in the back of the room, that's where we have the meat of the presentation through the design plans. So we wanted to provide you with a full scope of the design plans. I know a lot of architects like to keep that close to chest, but we want to be transparent. So we want to do our level best in providing you with each step of the process. And if we're not communicating enough, let us know. In addition to that, we have the master plan that's printed out in the back. We have it in the presentation, but we want to drive down a little bit deeper so you can see up close the master plan. We have the LDP submission packet in the back as well. So Spencer is going to start to talk through the master plan.
Thank you, Excel. Let me just first say before I get started, thank you for having me in your community. I'm very excited to be here. Once again, my name is Spencer Skinner. I am with Baker Tilly. I am standing in place of TVS Design today because they had some conflicts. They weren't able to attend. So I had a lot of discussions about what was being presented today. So I'm going to do my best to show their work. Myself, I'm a recovering architect. After 20 years, I got into the development side, and my role in this project is basically as a development manager, coordinating the multiple design team members, other third-party consultants, as well as our financing team that's putting together the financing for this project. So Excel mentioned before that him and I talk almost daily. It's probably 2-3 times a day, actually, about a myriad of topics that go on. So hopefully I do TVS's work justice. I have been involved in all the design discussions that have been on, so hopefully I can adequately address any other questions that come up. But let's start with the master plan. We know that this has been a master plan community, a plan for a community for quite a while. The master plan that's in front of you right now was adopted and accepted, I think about a year and a half ago or a year ago. So this is the plan that was presented to the city and accepted, I think, last year. Janissa, right? Where are you, Janissa? Development agreement last November of 2021, correct? Okay, thank you. So the essential basis of this master plan is to take the site that's directly across from City Hall, the underutilized site across from City Hall that wraps the library, and make it a live urban downtown center. That was the impetus of the development. What's done in this master plan and what was essentially created was a plan that lines the streets, creates an active streetscape for everyone to come to as a destination. So there's destination retail, planned grocery store. We're still negotiating with Grady Healthcare to relocate their existing clinic in our new building, and then finish and take down their existing building and build up the new the existing corner of where they've got their clinic right now as a part of this development. A couple of prime tenets to this was to try and make it pedestrian friendly, tie in with local bicycle and pedestrian pathways, and try to make it a vibrant and maintain it and enhance the vibrant city center that East Point started with the location of their City Hall. The original master plan was intended to be completed in essentially 3 phases. A south phase, which is represented in the purple area, and if you look at the plan on the right, essentially to the south and to the west of the library. So the purple would be the Grady Healthcare. The orange that sort of is on the corner of Main Street and Cleveland Avenue would be additional retail spaces. And then the existing, or the final piece would be the large orange area directly west of the library. The central phase was to be the work that wraps around the large parking garage in the center of the site. And then the large, it's pink, it's really supposed to be a little bit more orange, pink area on the plan was a grocery store. We're building above the grocery store as well. So the main concept is to have the first floor 100% retail, except for a couple areas that are resident amenities. And then the second floor, which is represented on the right side, would be apartments. The original plan, I think, was about for 280 apartments in 2 phases. And then we had a plan on the north phase, which is north of Ware Avenue, to be about 24 to 28 townhomes. What we've done is we've had to make some changes as things have gone along, as we started the process to go through. I'll go through those changes in just a little bit. But the main tenet is that we're still about 200 and probably over that now. I think we looked at a first phase of about 194 units and a second phase of 180 apartment units plus the 24. So we're going to exceed our additional unit count of 320 in the total development. And then I think we have about, Eric, this is a quiz. How much retail space do we have? Right around 70,000 square feet of retail. That includes the grocery store and the healthcare suite. So that's a lot of mass to put in the existing town. So could somebody hit the next slide for me, please? So we started looking at the architecture of the building. After the master plan was approved, we went into the building design. And we started specifically looking at what could this be from a massing standpoint to reflect and be reminiscent of the architecture that's existing in downtown. We don't want to have something that's overly too flashy, that stands out, that doesn't belong. We wanted this to be architecture that's resemblant of East Point. So we started to look at sort of the massing, the scale, and the materiality of the existing buildings for the downtown. And the image that's in front of you right now basically just shows the vocabulary that was just decided by the design team with a mix of materials. Mix of brick, cement fiber, or other panels. I think with the downtown design guidelines, we cannot use metal panels, so I think that's going to probably be a smooth painted cement fiber panel or something of that like. And then some accents to provide the corners and put accent on the corner at the roof plane. You can see as you walk down the street, we're planning on having and meeting the city's streetscape guidelines, and then enhancing landscaping to bring a human scale to the ground plane and not have anything that's overbearing. And at the ground plane, we have several undulations in and out along the walkway that sort of leads the pedestrian path down the street and into the retail and into the common areas. Next slide. This is the main elevation plan along East Point Street. The materiality, there's still some development that's going on this project, on this elevation. This is a good shot of where we are today, but we have had a lot of conversations with the design team about how this can be developed. Since this is going to be more of a street wall, we want to try to bring that down a little bit in scale. So we're going to be playing a little bit with the materiality of the long elevation along East Point Street, because that's the longest street of residential pieces. But we still maintain the same undulation in the ground plane at the retail. We have a little bit higher retail floor to floor planned. I think we're at this elevation, we're going to be around 20 feet because of grade elevation change from north to south. But that's also to make it a little bit more of a grand appearance and have a little bit more action and more activity within that retail space than what you may see with a lower ceiling space. I'm kind of going through this quickly, and I want to get through, when we get into the floor plan details a little bit more specifically, to go through a little bit more about the specifics about the retail and how the housing works above it. But it's pretty evident in terms of what the mass is going to be and how we want to try to work with it to bring that down just a little bit. Next slide, please. And this is the main corner at East Point Street and Cleveland Avenue. That's sort of the signature corner that we have on this development. This is this corner directly across from City Hall. And this, what we're looking at is the entry to the Grady Healthcare Suite and sort of the impetus and the main entrance point for the Commons project. This is where we're putting sort of the most emphasis architecturally to become the landmark of the city, right across from City Hall. And as you go down Cleveland Avenue, you will have ability to gain access to the common areas that are with the interior of the site, as well as access along East Point Street. So you have a public access to the interior courtyard. I don't have a really good shot of what that interior courtyard looks like. So I think when we break out into the one-on-one sessions, we can get a little bit more specific about how we're planning on using that, how that's wrapped with the retail, how we can get residents in and out very easily with the pedestrian pathways and other roadways, as well as how we've highlighted specifically to maintain the existing farmers market that's utilized on the site, and sort of how that's integrated in as an amenity into the project. Next slide. Oh, it didn't switch. All right. I think that's it. But what I wanted to do now on the design overview, could you go back up to the site plan for me, please? Okay. All right. Oh, one more. One down. That's perfect. Okay. One thing I wanted to point out on the design overview of where we are from where we were last time we came in. I believe, Janice, our last meeting was in January. Last time we came down and provided a conversation in January. The south phase was exactly what I talked about. It included the southern parking garage, the Grady Suite, wrapping the entire building along Cleveland Avenue, and then the small portion that goes up on Main Street towards the library, and then along East Point Street from the corner of Cleveland Avenue up to sort of that break just west of the library. As we were continuing down in that pathway, we discovered a couple of things that weren't really good for the building, which we didn't think were going to be good for the development. First of all, that scheme, because of the relative short height of that parking garage, it's only planned to be 2 or 3 stories so we can have views from the apartments above it, didn't have enough parking for the full development. And what we didn't want to do was provide a fully enclosed site plan that only provided parking in the middle and didn't have units to show off of the interior courtyard, public courtyard of the space. To compensate for that, we placed all the parking north of that break point, north of the library. The downside was to do a full surface lot, that entire parcel north of the library would have been a parking lot. I don't think even if it was going to be that way for a short term before we started the north phase, or sorry, the central phase, we didn't think that that was a good idea. Combine that with how the negotiations with Grady Healthcare have been. It's been taking a little bit longer than we anticipated because of the structure of the organization we're dealing with. And we didn't want to delay the start of the project. So we focused on primarily what could we do with this design just to build it on city-owned parcels. So we're negotiating with one owner, the city, and we're providing a development that meets the goals that was intended for the first phase, which is roughly about 180 units and about 20,000 square foot of retail. Well, what did we find out? The design, once we get into the documents in the back, includes the main parking garage in the center of the site. Right now, that's going to be planned between, I think we're debating between 3 and 6 floors, depending on the parking count that we need to meet ordinances. It's going to have 194 total units, which wrap the whole healthcare suite as it's shown, and then up the main street, up East Point Street to the west of the library, up to the edge of the parking garage where you see that sort of access eye onto the parking garage. That's going to be our first phase. Like I said, 194 units, and I think we're over 20,000 square foot of retail in that space. On the first floor is where we have the resident amenities. Resident amenities are going to be focused primarily in the yellow portion of the plan up there. Extends a little bit further down because as we've worked with Cushman & Wakefield, our amenity package has gotten a little bit bigger than initially anticipated for the master plan. And I think it's a benefit to the project. Makes it residents even more desirable. The last thing I want to sort of mention is to the site plan on the right. You see the gray parking garage, and you see the yellow bar of residential that goes into the south of that parking garage. You can see sort of on the left, there's nothing between the parking garage and the library in the relative same spot where that yellow bar is. That's because that's the space that's intended for the farmer's market. It's a little bit bigger than you think it is. We'll look. This looks small, but it's ample size to get, I think, 2 kiosks too deep, and I can't remember the full dimension, but we've got ample space for kiosks similar to what you have now. We can talk about the numbers when we get into the actual plan. In conjunction with that, we're having some conversations with some other different retail groups to enhance that space to be beyond just used solely as the farmer's market. So. Thank you. So for those of you who may not have heard that on the camera, roughly the farmer's market area is roughly going to be about 9,000 square feet. I don't know what you utilize today, but I think it's about the same. Okay. All right. So we can get into a little bit more detail on that when we start looking at the detailed plans. The benefit to this was that the parking ended up being more massive, or we had more parking that's lined and hidden, so we didn't have to do as big of a surface lot for that first phase. So we balanced our parking between the central parking garage, the south parking garage, and then limited on-street parking, which is, I think, going to be planned as parallel parking along East Point Street and Cleveland Avenue. So we're going to balance what we need to meet for regulatory requirements within the 2 structures, looking at the entire development. At the same time, going back, what I wanted to mention about the farmer's market is that farmer's market is covered. It's a covered area, so it's protected from the elements, which makes it a little bit more flexible than what you have now. And what we're talking about is how can we utilize that as an event space beyond just the farmer's market? And there's some tie-in with how it flows in with the remainder of the common area, which is sort of the green space between the library and the buildings on the west edge. Now, this plan represents a little bit larger than what we're actually able to do because of where the library site plan is. But we've got it in the updated plans to sort of walk through and show how that comes together. In that space, we have an opportunity to have first floor retail that opens up into that plaza. So you have an active plaza for outdoor dining, as well as some space for different community activities as was originally planned in the initial master plan. So I think that's it in terms of the master plan design and the building design. And I know there's a lot more to discuss, and we will definitely get into that as we go through and get together to review the plans later on in the presentation. So. Thank you.
We can clap. We can clap. So I'm really want to keep the meeting loose. I'm not a tense person, and I know that this is a highly anticipated development. With that said, and I said all that to say, we got pizza in the back, so if you are hungry, get up and eat. So I want to take a moment to introduce both Denise and Lynn, and they're teeing up their presentation. But feel free to move around, and if you would like to get something to drink or eat, I know it's a little hot in the room, you can absolutely do that. All right, so I just got an update. We want to announce that Council Member Cummings, Ward C, is present. So let's please give her a round of applause. All right, Denise and Lynn. Oh, how could I forget? Council Member Shropshire. We'd like to recognize Council Member Shropshire, Ward A at large. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Denise Holstein, and I oversee our multifamily asset management division from Cushman & Wakefield. Lynn Lewis, she oversees our commercial asset management, so she oversees the retail and office spaces. We actually have a little video that we'd like to share with you because we think that it gives you an idea of kind of the culture of our company and how we think. Every year, our company gives us a different theme to take throughout the year, and this one was kind of fun. It's buffering. Okay, so anyway, the theme is life is what you make of it. And I think that that's pretty apropos for this. I would say back in the fall, Eric and Excel came to us and were talking to us about this project and kind of what their vision was for it and what they would like to see from us as a management company. And I know for myself, and I know Lynn, we were super excited to be able to be a part of this project and to be able to bring something like this into the community. Our services that we provide, and we won't take too much of your time because we're just now getting involved and going to be kind of helping them. I think, Spencer, you said that it was like for the amenities. So, you know, we're going to try to make sure that your amenity package is appropriate for everybody. But our core services, number one is operations. We also provide a full operating accounting, financial reporting package, marketing, construction management, risk management, technology. We train our teams, and most of all, we deal with energy sustainability services. That is something that Cushman and Wakefield feels very strongly about. So, we also have different core values, passion approach, client partnership, binding culture, and reliable platforms that will make sure that we are providing timely information to the community as well as our partners on the project. So for me, our regional team happens to be led on kind of a regional basis where Greg Mark oversees the whole East Coast. I oversee the state of Georgia, and then I have an amazing team that pretty much makes the two of us look really good. So I'm going to let Lynn talk a little bit about her division.
Thanks, Denise. As Denise had said, I am Lynn Lewis, and I'm the city lead for asset services for Cushman and Wakefield in Atlanta. So that means that I'm ultimately over all of the different verticals that we have, which is office primarily. We have about 9 million square feet of office. Our industrial division, our retail division, and then Denise oversees the multifamily division. But what's fantastic about our group is that we all work together at 1180 Peachtree. So we have a huge repository of, you know, teammates, many of which, one of whom actually lives in East Point. So she's been a fantastic partner of ours just to give us feedback. But my team is primarily, you know, going to be helping Excel and Eric on the programming aspects of the retail. You know, as Denise was saying, you know, and Excel was saying, bringing in the property management team early is hugely important. That never happens because typically, I hate to say it, we're sometimes an afterthought. You know, you develop a building and then all of a sudden you realize you have to operate it. So being a part of this on the front end is super exciting. And something we're thrilled to be a part of. You know, I think some of the things that we will be bringing to the table will be just, you know, really thinking about how the community will be using this space, you know, thinking through the activations both as a resident but then also as a user of the community. You know, I know there's a lot of questions about the Makers Market. I was formerly with a developer named Hines, and I officed at Atlantic Station. So, you know, I think there's a ton that can be brought to the table in terms of local artisans and things like that. So, not to go into too much detail, but, you know, we have worked in Georgia our whole career. At least I know I have. I think, Denise, you've been in Atlanta. So we're very familiar and just excited to be part of the team. Do you want to advance? Thank you. Similar to Denise's overview, our team does, you know, we function the same way. We provide full service accounting, construction management, operations support. We are the property management group. So everything that's involved in that. And then an element that is, really, really important as we think through the activation of East Point Commons is, what is the tenant experience, both from the resident, from the community, and from the occupants? So we have a program that really focuses on this exclusively. We have a dedicated community manager that we'll be able to leverage to get, just social media announcements, PR, positive, marketing and things like that. And, at the scale of a company like Cushman, we have 55,000 employees. We're worldwide. We're able to kind of pull some of the best practices through. And I think that was my last slide. So I will pass it back to Excel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we don't want to be too long-winded in terms of the sit-down presentation. We want to get you all active and circling through the schematic designs and asking those important questions that you have in respect to the schematic designs in our and design development in our breakout session. I'm going to quickly introduce you to Eric. Eric is with Core Rep, and he's going to talk in some more detail about the commercial space. He's also going to speak into some detail about our letters of intent and a few other very exciting things. So Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Excel. I will be brief. I come on the back end of all this hard work that these folks do. I think one thing that you might miss while you're here is that Lynn was casually throwing out that they've got 55,000 employees, Baker Tilly's international group. All of these people have been brought onto the team by Excel. So Excel is treating this development with the utmost care. And I need y'all to maybe understand that. He did not go light on the team, okay? Maybe except for me. So what I'll do is, like I said, I'll be brief. I want to step back here, if that's okay, just to kind of show you the spaces that I'm going to briefly talk about. So if you can see down here, I'll start with the hospital, okay? I think everybody's familiar with Grady. We're in conversations with them to talk about improving the healthcare facility. Conversations are going well, and there will be more information to come. If we're talking and not giving details, it's because it's confidential information. And until leases are signed and releases are given, we have to kind of speak broadly about the projects we're working on. So I said that to say that we're working very closely with the healthcare group to take a space. Now, they originally were going to do about 20,000 feet. And I think we've now pared that down to a little bit smaller. And what that does for us is gives us more ability to add more retail. So if we have a larger tenant like that says, I need 5,000 feet less, that allows us to now add another tenant that can bring a little bit more flavor to the city. So as we walk through this quickly, you'll see that there are going to be little tidbits of tenants, retail, restaurant, potential exercise that will help to make this more of a city center. So I'm hoping that you're excited about that. So down in this corner, that's where the healthcare is. Up where the pink is, I'm calling it pink, I might be colorblind, but that is going to be retail. That's going to be some restaurant and some standard retail shopping. We have, in that first phase, I think we're about 15 to 20,000 feet of space that's going to be available. Kind of depends what everybody takes. But we already have letters of intent, or LOIs, that will take that space. So one more time, we've got about 15 to 20,000 feet of space that's going to be available on this little bottom part. And it's already, you can say, accounted for. And that's rare that happens. Usually they sign the deal, they own the property, they start breaking ground, and then you start pre-leasing and it starts to go from there. But in this case, we're trying to get out in front of it. The city has been wonderful about identifying folks of interest and forwarding those folks onto the team to say, hey, this restaurant's interested, give them a shout, or they pass them on to us, and we then talk them through the process. We have, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups of interest at this point, not counting the potential grocer, not counting healthcare, so that would make 8. And we have signed LOIs from a good percentage of them, And we just, as of May 19th, which is not too long ago, we just received another restaurant LOI signed. So I say that to say there's traction before there's even dirt turning. And so that's a good place to be. Now, our group loves the community and are going out on faith as well as putting all the things in place to make sure this is a successful project. But the belief in the city, the belief in the community, and what this East Point Commons will do for the community is also a driving force for what this team's doing. I think I can probably stop there because we've got, out of everything, I think it was about 70,000 feet. I said I'll stop. The last thing is this grocer, that grocer spot up top. I think that's about 30,000 feet. We've got some grocers that are potentially interested that have templates that are anywhere from 20,000 feet to 30,000 feet. So if they end up selecting a template, whoever decides to come, if they select a template that's only 20,000 feet, we're going to gain another 10 or 15,000 feet that we can put another retail group in. So as one thing shifts, other things are going to be gained, and we're just excited to see what it's going to look like. I think that's probably it. That's a light touch on everything. People are interested. People are waiting. We're going to move these folks from letters of intent to signed leases. Once those leases are signed, the action begins. Is that good, Excel? Cool.
I love you guys. Thank you for the applause. And we're really excited. There's a grocer that we've been talking to for a long period of time that's modeling around 10,000 square feet. So I know Eric said 20,000 and up, but we're also considering a grocer that's about 10,000 square feet, and then building grocery services around that scenario. So there's still some flexibility there in terms of what is I want to be clear, is the second phase. So when Eric spoke in regards to the commercial space and the LOIs, we've gotten more than enough interest for the first phase. We've even started getting interest on the second phase from a LOI commitment perspective. In terms of process, the only LOIs can be obtained until the purchase and sale agreement, we'll talk about that, until the purchase and sale agreement is executed. So how many folks have built a house? All right. So for those that have built a house, what's the first thing that must happen before you can construct that house? You can scream it out. You got to have money. What's the other thing? You got to get the land first before you get the money. So the bank isn't going to loan if you don't have the land or a commitment on the land. And then it's what? Permit. All right. So those are all of the exciting stuff that's happening behind the scenes that we're working every day hand in hand with the city on. And we'll talk about that in some more detail. So we said, okay, Excel, we're at the stage of the presentation. We saw a lot of cool stuff. But when is groundbreaking? When is dirt turning? when is this thing going to happen? So we've created a FAQ, and I hope you all signed up in the back because we have some giveaways. We have some Target gift cards that we're going to be sending to you. So we want to make this interactive. So I'm a print person. I like to see it. I like to touch it. I like to feel it. I don't just like words. So I wanted to provide you with some content. So the primary question is, when will construction work begin on the East Point Commons development subject property? So there's two things that absolutely must happen that you all have already alluded to. The one thing is we need control of the land through the purchase and sale agreement. The purchase and sale agreement is being negotiated actively with the city, and it's set to go before committee in, I believe, July. So that's when the council will receive the purchase and sale agreement for approval. Now, with the development agreement has already been executed. The development agreement states, in the context of the development agreement, that we have essentially a first right of refusal on the land. The purchase and sale agreement solidifies that interaction. The second component is the LDP. So there's been a lot of communication around the land disturbance plan or land disturbance permitting surrounding the land disturbance plan. We've already submitted it. And the developers in the room are probably scratching their head and saying, well, how did you submit the LDP before you have control of the land? Because we want to be not just assertive, we want to be aggressive. We want this thing to happen. We're taking the risk. We've got about $1 million into this thing and we're not losing. I play to win. So we said, we're going to go ahead and spend the money and put it in the land disturbance plan, submit it to the city. It's already been submitted to the city. It's going to the state. It's going to take about 25, 35 days before the state approves it. When those two things happen, then we can talk about when is the project going to break ground, when is construction going to start on the project. Fair? All right. Next slide. So we're scratching our heads and we're saying, we're all jumping in this together. That's why we have this picture and it's a parachute. We're taking a leap. You all took a leap of faith on MindMatch. We went through a rigorous process in terms of the RFP process, and we put together what I feel, and I'm biased, but I think we put together an all-star team. But the city had to take a leap of faith, and they said, after how many years? 20? 30? Too many. After too many years, the city said, and I think Derek can attest to this, they said, wait a minute, we need to buy this land. We tried this before without buying the land, but we need to buy this land. And then we can have some more say in terms of a developer coming in and issuing an RFP, et cetera, et cetera. But we need some site control, right? All right. So that took a process. That's before we were involved, I believe. So the city went through a rigorous process of making sure that they would secure the land. Now in the purchase and in the development agreement, the land has to be conveyed. So that means that MindMatch has to purchase the land from the city. So that's a very important point. Now the developers in the room might be scratching their head and saying, well, developer, why are you paying for the land? Usually that land is given in a public-private partnership for $1 for a 99-year lease. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Am I wrong? Or there's a discount on the land. We're paying full market value for the land. That's the reason for the purchase and sale agreement. The city is safeguarding you all. The city is making sure that we're doing what we need to do to develop this land and that we have what? Skin in the game. So those are very important things that's happened that Darren and Janisa and the council got together on, and they said, hey, we want to take our time and we want to do this the right way. We've got this wonderful opportunity to transform the city of East Point, and we're going to do it in the right way, regardless of time. So my question is, and this is for a $20 gift card. I like Target, so it's for Target. So here's my question. How long has the Mind Match Development Group been working on the East Point Commons development? Is there a microphone? We have.
I believe it was in 2020.
Good guess, but no.
No. Okay.
No. Anyone else want to guess? No. No. No.
November 2021.
2021?
November.
There you go. Bingo. Bingo. So let's go to the next slide. So you get a $20 gift card. If we can make sure that we get our information. So the RFP was let prior to November 29th of 2021. What the RFP does, and some communities call it a RFQ, request for qualifications, but in this submission, it's a RFP. So the RFP, request for proposal, was let, and what the RFP does, it provides you an opportunity to negotiate. That's what it does. If I'm wrong, please tell me. But the RFP provides an opportunity to negotiate. So I have 6 attorneys. So 6 attorneys got on the phone, had meetings, we put together a concept plan, we submitted the RFP, and then we entered into some heavy negotiation. And the city was not easy, but they were fair. You all have a great council, and you all have a great city. And I'm just humbly speaking that the things that have already happened are amazing. The city hall, amazing. Walmart, amazing. The other development plans that are forthcoming that haven't even been spoken about, amazing. So now we had an opportunity to negotiate the RFP. With the RFP, it said, okay, what are you going to pay for the land? What's the city's participation in this development plan? So we negotiated the city's participation, 50% waiver on the permits was one of the deal points in the plan. Because of the location of the development, it's in what's called a tax allocated district. That wasn't carved out for East Point Commons development. That was already existing. But because of the location, we're able to benefit from the tax allocated district. And the way that works is we have to do our part. We have to build the asset. We have to create value. And a portion of that will come back to the development team after we've proven that we've built everything that we have built out. So it's hundreds of pages, but that's the short of it. So the 2 things that must happen prior to Heavy discussion in terms of breaking ground is execution of the PSA happening. State approval of the LDP happening. We've already submitted. You can see it in the back. We printed it off for you. And we're showing you things that a lot of developers won't even show because we're committed to the process and we want to be transparent. And we know that you're concerned and you know, we know that you want us to do the best job that we can do to provide for you and the rest of the citizens within the city of East Point. Any questions around that point?
Is the project currently fully funded?
Yeah. So the short answer to the question is yes. The longer answer to the question, I'm going to repeat exactly what I just said. No private equity group, no lender, no investor is going to give a dime without control of the land and permits. We have the conditional award from our private equity group. We have our capital stack lined up. As soon as we show the execution of those documents, we will have the funding. It's the best way I can answer it. That's the most honest way that I can answer it. Other questions?
Not to be a stickler about the last question, but
Sure.
it was in 2019 that, because I think that you said that the correct answer was 2021.
Yes.
So I did a search on the on our website for agendas and minutes, and y'all have been working on this project since 2019.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's part of the confusion. So what I stated before was the RFP was let. When the RFP was let, then we entered into a negotiation. And I think it's public on the website, the development agreement. So if you go on the website, you'll look at the executed signatures, and it's 11/29/2021 for the fully executed development agreement, is when we can legally start the project. The date that you're bringing up is when we were awarded through a competitive bidding process, what's called the request for proposal. I hope that clears it up.
So we are really excited about this. All the people who live and work in East Point, super duper excited. And everything sounds wonderful that you're saying.
Great.
Do you think you're going to break ground by the end of this year?
Yes. Without
You're
question.
positive about it?
Yes.
Okay.
Without question.
So, not to continue to talk about the same thing. We said it a lot. There's a lot that can happen. Right now, if everything goes as we scheduled and as we've been working with the city, and what we've told the city is, yes, we are looking to finish or begin before the end of the year. There are some things that can derail that. Mostly what Excel has alluded to. But as the guy who keeps the schedule, that is our heartfelt goal. If we're able to get our agreements in place, yes.
Thank you. And I'll raise my hand. I want to break ground faster than anybody else. I think I've communicated more than one time that there's a lot of risk money that MindMatch is taking on. Not just MindMatch, that the project manager, Baker Tilly, TVS Design, et cetera, is taking on. They've been kind to me. They've been kind. They said, hey, Excel, we understand. We don't know why you keep going, but we understand it. We know we want this project to happen, but I think, Spencer, when we go back and forth, why are you submitting the LDP plan? Why are you spending $20,000 to submit the LDP plan? Because we're going to take this project forward. There is no, one of the advisors, Bernard Crockett in the back, he advises me what I consider a genius in Bernard. And he said, He said, there is no looking back, there is no looking to the side, it's just going forward. And we're at the point where we've invested, the city's invested, we've got the team, the city has the team, and we're gonna make it happen. But we gotta put the foot on the pedal and go, because I wanna get paid. I want the city to be successful. With or without me, the city is gonna be successful, but I want the city to be successful with this project. And we wanna put over 300 units of residential space in this project, and we wanna put 60 or 70,000 square feet of commercial and retail space in this project. We wanna create over 1,500 jobs for this project, and I just wanna give way to Choate Construction. We have a contractor meet and greet that's scheduled for June 22nd, Janisa. That's scheduled for June 22nd, so we encourage you all to come out. For those that you know that have construction companies, et cetera, that have an interest in doing business on this project, we encourage you all to come out and meet the team, get introduced, fill out the preliminary information to really get some of these dollars that's going to come off of the project.
I have a peculiar question.
Sure.
I understand that there's a great opportunity here to move quickly. And one of the things that we struggle with in East Point is permitting process.
Mhm.
And so can you talk about how you're going to use your influence as a developer maybe to help alleviate some of that so you're and move fast and smoothly, and then maybe residual outcome could be that it's improved for the residents?
Sure. And I know Janice is going to speak to this point. What I want to remind you all of is this is a public-private partnership. We're here to work together. The city is behind us 100% on this project. It's not the city's intent to have this bottlenecked in permitting and stall the project. That's not the city's intent, but we got to check all our boxes. We understand that there's been some opportunities. We've heard of some of those opportunities. But I just want to remind you, this is a public-private partnership.
Thank you, Excel. Just to reiterate, the permitting process has started. The development team with their civil engineering firm, Everly and Associates, has actually submitted the land disturbance permit plans for review. So it is going through that process. I will tell you, as part of my responsibility, I'm the taskmaster. Spencer and Excel can tell you on Tuesdays, they probably get tired of me, but I'm drilling them. We got to get this done. But on the same side, I'm also constantly calling my colleagues to let them know, hey, they submitted. What are the dates so I can pass it on? What comments have we gotten from all of the different departments who need to review? And if there are some outstanding comments anywhere along the way, my colleagues know I have no problems calling them and asking them. So I don't want anybody to get bogged down and worried about a permitting process. I think all of us are working together. We, as the City of East Point staff, want to see this project happen just as much as you all who live and work here. So we're going to be working internally to make sure that there are not any unnecessary bottlenecks when it comes to permitting this project. As I said, they are actually in the land disturbance permitting process now. They've received their first set of comments from all of our reviewing departments. Everly and Associates is working on those revisions. Those revisions will come back. As soon as our departments have signed off on approval, that's when the plans can go to the state for review for soil sedimentation review. So we are working together, and as I said, my colleagues probably get tired of me calling, but I'm constantly calling, sending emails internally, but also externally to Excel and Spencer. And we actually meet every Tuesday morning to talk about progress and where we are with respect to the administrative side of the project and the construction side of the project. So I hope that helps, because I really don't want anybody to get worried about and get bogged down with permitting, because we're working together to make sure that this project gets done.
One quick thing I want to add to that also is we've been working with both TVS and Choate Construction in different ways we can overcome permitting challenges that may come in. So we're trying to anticipate what challenges we may have to try and maintain our schedule, whether it be different packages, different sets that can be approved at different times. I don't think we're going to have to do that, but we have had discussions about that up front to try and minimize that concern as much as possible.
My question is for Janicia. You was talking about the permits, and you said once they get through with all the permits, and then it goes to the state. And I think he spoke on July. Let me see if I got it right. July, you said that y'all be breaking ground or something like that. I'm just trying to get it out. Let me make me understand that July. I didn't quite get it. State process. So it's going to take the state 20, 35 days to get all that done.
They are allotted up to 35 days.
35
yes,
days?
That's a part of the process for any project that is over an acre and requires land disturbance activities. Those plans must be submitted to the Georgia Soil Water Conservation Commission.
Okay, 30,
and we're supposed to allow them up to 35 days for review.
Okay, that'll start this month, which would be 30 days this month, right?
Well, first we have to before we send anything to the state for review and approval, our internal team has to review and approve. We don't send anything to the state that each of our service delivery departments have not approved yet. So it goes to East Point Power, it goes to Water Resources, it goes to Public Works, Fire, in some cases police. We don't send anything to the state until our internal service delivery departments have approved it on our side. And then once it goes to the state, they're reviewing for soil sedimentation. Once we receive their approval, then we can move into a pre-construction process, and it all becomes internal again with the staff here in the city of East Point.
So let me add some detail to that and sort of where are we in the land disturbance permit process right now. Excel mentioned we submitted the initial submission. We put in the initial application. The city of East Point has done their first review. We received the final comments on that initial city review 2 weeks prior to today. Our civil engineer is currently responding to those comments. I believe he's scheduled to have them done either by the end of this week or the end of next week, when we'll return it back to the city. So they will finish their review. They may have a couple of more questions. Not saying we're perfect, that we can magically wave our wand and answer all the questions perfectly the first time. But we'll respond to their questions in a timely manner, and then once they get through their review, then it goes to the state through the city. We don't have to make that submission. It's made through their review process because of the size of the site. So that's where we are currently.
And I'll just say Janisa is a gem. She's being very modest. You were running that department for 11 years, right? So she knows her stuff. So when Janisa says she knows the permitting process and is the city gonna work together and make sure that it's pushing forward, it's no mystery why Janisa is now the deputy city manager. She's earned that position, and that's one of the areas that she's earned it in. And I'll say, she holds us accountable, I tell you that. And I do not want to make Janisa upset. But we have a great relationship. But Janisa, every Tuesday, holds us accountable, and she does not cut her tongue. If something has to happen, it's got to happen. So thank you so much. Other questions?
Yes. will you talk to us a little bit more in detail about the partnership with the Grady Clinic and how it will attach to this project?
Yeah, I would love to. There's some things that legally I just can't say. What I can say is Grady is so excited about this development opportunity. I can say that the leadership of Grady is considering the 4 options that we provided to them. They selected one of the options. Those are the things that I can say. What I can say is when we first went to them and started talking to them about the project, they said, hey, we're interested, but is this going to happen? We don't want to waste our time here. So we had to prove together with the city that this is a real deal. So there's some things in regards to Grady, and this, I'm going to tell you stuff that you can just pull up. We know that land, that the building that Grady has is about 20 years old. We know that there is motivation for Grady to be in a new space. We know that the direction of the East Point Commons is a good fit even for Grady. Those are the things that we can say. And I would love to share more with you, and I will share more with you, but we can't at this particular time.
You're talking about all the things that you're doing, the land surveys, permitting. Can you give us a percentage? And I know this is part of the RFP process. How close are you to getting the PSA approved?
So we're so I'm glad you said that. So we're past the RFP process.
Yeah, past it, but
We've executed the development agreement.
Okay.
We've been through 4 rounds, if not more, of the purchase and sale agreement. We're at the last round of the purchase and sale agreement. The last information that was put in was milestones. And then it goes, in terms of process, it goes to the council for the council to vote on the purchase and sale agreement, which is intended to happen in July. And then after the council votes on the approval of the purchase and sale agreement with the content that's written in it, then it goes to the Downtown Development Authority for final signature, and then the land can be conveyed. That's the process. So just to reiterate, July, and I don't think I'm right. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. July is the anticipated date for it to go to council.
So going back to Grady, I saw on one of your slides that you had marked that it's a hospital. Can we
It's
go
not a
back?
full hospital.
Okay. Just because like one of the slides had said that.
Yeah, they're going to, just to be specific, and then I'll turn it over to Spencer, they're going to maintain the same services that they have now.
So that was something that the architect made a typo on. We know it's just a community clinic. When they submitted this master plan, it said hospital. It's not intended to be a hospital. We expect there to be some transportation services in their plan, but it's not a full service hospital. It's intended to be a replacement of the community clinic that exists today, but we don't know what services they're going to put in there. So that was just a semantics mix up with the exhibits.
So just to be clear, because I thought the very first thing that he said was that Grady had not signed on yet, and we're talking a lot about Grady. So there is no LOI with Grady at this
There is
point.
a LOI with Grady.
There is?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So what's the next step of that?
In terms of LOI to contract, or?
Yes.
So in terms of process, and I'll just speak in general, this applies to a grocery store, this applies to a retail, commercial, a clothing store, et cetera. And I think more importantly, I'm just going to bring up our expert in that space. I could happily answer it, but we want the expert to answer it.
Well, if the expert doesn't show, I'll just take his place for a minute. The the LOIs that were signed, we signed those early on with multiple groups. And as time has gone on, we've gone back and updated them just to make sure everybody's still interested. So we're keeping in contact with everybody to make sure everybody's still interested. Once, I'm just going to use the word closes. Okay, once this project closes and all the paperwork's signed, then our group is going to go to all those folks that have LOIs in, transition them to a lease. Do all the negotiation, get all the terms right, talk to their attorneys, talk to our attorneys, and once they've signed and fully executed those leases, they will officially be tenants. And then we'll begin to, I don't think you'll see future home of and that kind of stuff, but it will start to take down the available space and shrink the vacancy. So does that help you?
Yes, so at this point in the process, anybody who has signed an LOI, they can back out. Is
At
that
this
correct?
point, they could, technically. Yep.
All right. Other questions? Other questions?
So the plans have changed since last time we met. And so what are the chances that the plans are going to change even more before you break ground?
Well, I want to focus on change. The plans have not changed since the last time that we met. The plans have evolved from the base plan. So at first it was the conceptual design plan. The conceptual design plan was an addition to the RFP, and we put together, being proactive, we put together a conceptual design plan based off of the requirements of the RFP. Once we were awarded the project, we went through a number of visioning sessions to really get an understanding of what the community wanted to see. The number one thing that we knew is that we did not want to create this development in a bubble. What I mean by that is we learned very early on that it was important to engage the community. And we've had how many visioning sessions? A charrette of 4 visioning sessions. We've had multiple community sessions, et cetera. So what we did was we fine-tuned that conceptual design plan into a master plan. And then once the master plan was complete, then we started the schematic design plan. So each step is an evolution to the foundation plan, which is the master plan. So the scope of the project has not changed. The master plan has not changed. The building elements have evolved, exterior and interior. So I just wanted to be clear on that point.
And so I attended all the visioning sessions. Can you point to 3 things that the residents wanted in those visioning sessions that we can see and point to in the design here?
Yeah, we intend to do that in the breakout session. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. I can happily do that. But we want to be respectful of everyone's time, and we really want to get into those breakout sessions. But I know that you're a very concerned citizen, so I want to spend that time with you.
Will there be any federal or state or city grants?
Man, I wish.
You wish? So this is all private equity?
Man, I wish.
No.
So there's a couple of elements. There's a couple of elements that we explored. Some of you might know new market tax credits. Some of you might know LIHTC. We explored a number of those options. Some of you might know HUD funding. We looked at a HUD 221D4. We got direct instructions that this is going to be a market rate project. We have a 10% affordability piece in the project that's detailed in the development agreement. But we have not accepted, negotiated, any additional state or federal funds. There is a reimbursement component that I spoke to earlier, which is the tax allocated district. That still means that we have to front load the project. So the TAD has 20 years in it. So we'll get property tax proceeds reimbursed to us. Now we have to pay the property taxes, 100%, but we'll get a portion of those property taxes back over a 20-year period. Great question. You want to expound on that?
And just to clarify, with the tax allocation district, it is reimbursable, and the manner in which the development agreement was designed, the reimbursement would go towards the infrastructure costs that the developer expended to construct the project. So that's what the TAD dollars will be used for this particular development, to reimburse for infrastructure. And just as Excel has said, they have to perform the work before they will be able to submit for reimbursement. And I think you're ready to do your breakout.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Please give yourselves a big round of applause. I know that we ran long in this session. I think it was very important information that we shared, very important questions that you all asked. We ask that you stick around, go through the elevation plans and schematic design and design development plans with us. Any questions that you might have in terms of the master plan, and get some pizza and get some lemonade. Thank you.